Alright, so today I'm going to be going over how I set up my clocks. I learned from a tutorial by, I think, Kit Clement, but I wanted to make my own tutorial just because I feel like not enough people know that you should be setting up your clocks. It just really improves the performance, and it's pretty easy to do. And all you need is a clock, obviously, and then a screwdriver to open the clock, as well as a small bit of paper towel or something, and a heavy silicone lube. I'm using weight 5 from the Cubicle, but any heavy-ish silicone lube should work for this. So the first step is to obviously disassemble your clock, which I've already done, but it's pretty easy. You just unscrew these screws. You don't need to unscrew them all the way, but they'll just pop off eventually. And when you disassemble it, you want to make sure that you don't lose any of these 4 nuts on the back casing here if you're using a Qi clock, obviously. If you're using a different clock, this setup method also works, but if you're not using a Qi clock and you're actually serious about clock, start using a Qi clock. Anyways, you want to fully disassemble the clock, and you don't need any of these pieces. You just need these 2 like inner coverings. And what you do is you take the paper towel and you put a little tiny bit of lube on it. You don't want too much. It's very important that you don't put too much lube onto the clock. And what you'll do with this tiny bit of lube on the paper towel is you'll just spread it around these circles. Again, you just take a little bit of lube and just spread it around very thinly around a couple of the circles. And a little bit of lube should be enough for multiple circles. Once you're done lubing a side, it looks kind of like this. It's easier to see in person, but you can kind of tell where the lube is on the clock. And there will be lube kind of in between the circles, but it's really important that each of the circles has a thin layer of lube on it, because that white circle is where the piece actually touches. And so that's the part you want to make sure that there's lube on. And then if there's lube kind of in between the circles, it's fine. It doesn't matter. So after you lube one side, you then just lube the other. And again, it's very important. I cannot stress this enough. You want a very thin layer of lube. That's why you use the paper towel to spread the lube around, so that it's a very thin layer of lube, because you do not want too much lube. If you put too much lube on, it'll get really gummy and hard to turn, and it'll actually slow your clock down instead of making your clock better. Once you have a thin layer of lube on each side, all you need to do is reassemble the clock and break it in. If you don't know how to assemble a clock, what you want to do, at least for the Qi clock, is take 5 cross pieces and put them in, and you'll see for the white casing it uses the black pieces. And then you want to take some corners and you just want to like put them in. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then once you have like a full layer like this, you just want to take the other 5 like cross pieces and put them into the other side. And it doesn't matter if you put your clock together solved, because no matter what, you will be able to solve it. But then once you have something like this, you want to take the pins and put them in, and you also want to make sure that the black side goes down into the white like casing, because it's kind of opposite. And you just put them in, and it's kind of hard to do, but it's also kind of really easy. I don't know how to explain it, but you just put all the pins in, and once they're in like that, you can take this other side, and since all the pieces are magnetic, you can just flip it over, and then you just get the pins through and kind of just snap the casing together. And then from here, you want to get the like outer cover and put it back on. And you just snap it on like that. And then you just screw in the screws. And then when you're screwing this in, you need to kind of remember that how deep the screws are screwed in will kind of affect the turning and how fast it is. So you just want to try to get them all as even as possible at the start, And I do that by trying to like line them up to the bottom of that, like, of the nut. And it looks like they're all pretty even here. But from there, you just want to break it in and then like adjust your screws to your preference as you notice they need to be adjusted. All you need to do is a couple solves to break your clock in, and if you put like just enough lube in, it shouldn't actually feel too gummy. But if you put too much lube in, your clock will feel pretty gummy, but if you break it in, it should improve over time. And with that one solve, I just noticed that the clock feels too fast, so I'm going to tighten each screw by half a turn, and that should slow the clock down and make it more controllable.